Hey guys, welcome to Rachel Reads. My name is Rachel and I love to read and write Christian fiction. And today we are doing my January wrap up. So let's go ahead and get on to all the books. So the first book I read was a reread, and that was A Rumored Fortune by Joanna Davidson Politano. This is historical romantic fiction, and it is about Tressa, who ends up moving back to Trevelyan Castle, and she ends up having to discover a bunch of mysteries about it, and I really loved it. I think I gave it 5 stars again, or 4.5, but it's a really good book and I highly recommend it. The next book I read is Fortress of Snow by Melanie Dickerson, and this is about Maisie after her father has died and then her brother comes and she ends up moving away. And it's also about, which brother? It's about Sir Beringer, which is one of the brothers in the Darracot Tales. This is young adult historical romance and it's really sweet. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I think my favorite book might be the second one. I'm not for sure. This was a really good read and I enjoyed it. The next book I read is Critical Threat by Lynette Eason, and this is Christian romantic suspense, and it's about Grace Billingsley, who is an FBI special agent, and she uses her skills as a psychiatrist. She uses her skills as a psychiatrist. She uses her skills as a psychiatrist and a behavioral analysis. She uses her skills as a psychiatrist and a behavioral analyst. She works with Sam, who is a prison psychiatrist, and they are trying to find the serial killer. And it was really good. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. I enjoyed the story. Book 2 is still my favorite, and I highly recommend Crossfire, which is book 2. But I love the continuation, and I can't wait to read book 4. My dog's back. This is Bentley. But the next book I read was A Midnight Dance by Joanna Davidson Politano. This is historical romance. It's also Christian. And I reread this and gave it 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. This is definitely my favorite from Joanna Davidson Politano. I have yet to read her next book, which is The Lost Melody. But this is about Ella, who is a ballerina, and she ends up wanting to do this dance, but she also has to figure out the mystery behind her mother, which was super interesting to read about, and I love seeing the character growth, and I really enjoyed this book. I highly recommend it, especially if you like Victorian style novels. So the next book I read is actually a series, and I did read a few books in between this. But I'm just going to go ahead and put the series together, and this was the Anomaly trilogy by Krista McGee. It's Anomaly, Luminary, and Revolutionary, and this is about Folly, who lives underground in the state, and she is the trained musician until one day something goes wrong. And this is a Christian series, and I absolutely loved it. I gave the first book 5 stars. I think the second book I gave 4 stars, and the last book was 5 stars. There goes my dog. But I highly recommend the series if you like Christian dystopian, or if you're looking for Christian dystopian books. This one's really good. So the next 2 books I don't have with me, but one of them is Out of the Dust by Karen someone. I don't exactly remember her name, but I'll put a picture somewhere on the screen. And this book, I listened to this as an audiobook, but apparently it's a free verse novel, and it was okay. I think I gave it like 1 or 2 stars. I wasn't super interested in it, and I read it for school. It just wasn't that like captivating, and I didn't enjoy it, so that's why I gave it 2 stars. The next book I read is a nonfiction, and that is Unplanned by Abby Johnson. I will put the book somewhere on the screen. This is her telling her story of her working at the Planned Parenthood clinic in Texas, and her journey from going to being pro-choice to pro-life and being a pro-life advocate. And I really love this. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. It was such an interesting read, and seeing how she changed and how her thought process was back then. So I highly recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff. So the next books I read are a series, and I did read I think 1 or 2 books in between them, but I'm going to talk about them together. And technically speaking, I read one of them February 1st. Like, I finished it on February 1st, but I'm going to include it because it is a series. And this is The Heirs of Neverland by Kara Swanson. And the books are Dust and Shadow. I absolutely love these books. The second one's definitely my favorite, but I gave both of them 5 stars. The second one is so good. I love this story, and I love seeing the characters again and visiting Neverland. I think it's so sweet. It was an interesting read, and this is YA fantasy. It has a bit of an allegory to it, so if you're looking for clean fantasy or some allegory fantasy, then I really would recommend these books. So the next 2 books I don't have with me, but one of them is Forsaken Island by Sharon Hink. This is book 2 in the Hidden Realms, I think it's called, but it's book 2. We're following Karya after the events of book 1. I can't tell you much because it will spoil book 1, but I love the way everything kind of wrapped up, even though it was sad. But there's a book 3, and everything kind of ended really nicely in book 2, so I'm kind of scared how book 3 is going to go, but I still can't wait to read it. The next book I read is Honey Butter by Millie Florence. Millie Florence has so far indie published 2 books, and she is working on a 3rd, and she is on YouTube, so I might link her channel down below. But I absolutely love this book. I got it for free as an ebook, and I thought it was so cute. It is a middle grade. It is clean. I'm pretty sure it's Christian too, and I thought it was a wonderful story. It's about a girl who collects paint cards, and her character transformation as well as her friends and her family. I thought it was a super sweet story, and it's super short, so if you're looking for something short to read that's super fun, I highly recommend Honey Butter. It was so good. The last book I read this month is The Walls Are Talking by Abby Johnson. This is about some women from abortion clinics who are willing to tell their story to have people understand what abortion clinics are like and to give them insight on why they are now pro-life. And I think it was such an interesting read if you're on the line about these 2 sides, or if you're thinking about it or writing a paper or something. I really would recommend reading this book. I absolutely loved how it was told. They're little short stories. The names are anonymous, and for a nonfiction, it was interesting, but do know that this book and Unplanned might have some trigger warnings because it is dealing with abortion, so just beware of that, but I really like this book. So that is all the books I read in January. I really enjoyed it this month. It was a lot of rereads, so I'm hoping to read some new books in February. I should have 1 or 2 videos coming out soon. I also have another idea for a video that I think is super fun, and I saw it on someone else's channel. But that's all I have for now, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.